பாரத்தை தினம் களங்களில் சுமக்கிறோம். தொடுவானம் இனி தொடும் தூரம் பல கைகளை சேர்க்கலாம். யாரும் இல்லை தடை போட, உன்னை மெல்ல எடை போட, நம்பிக்கையில் நடை போட சம்மதமே. என்ன இல்லை உன்னோடு, ஏக்கம் என்ன கண்ணோடு, வெற்றி என்றும் வலியோடு பிறந்திடுமே.
A virus is actually just genetic material encased in an envelope. And it actually needs a host like me or you in order for it to infect and continue to produce more copies of itself. So what happens is a virus infects me, let's say, and my immune system starts trying to control that virus. Well, the virus evolves and mutates and changes its genetic material over time to try to outrun my immune system. So it's a constant battle between the host and the virus, and basically they're evolving together. They're co-evolving.
Ebola is a filovirus, part of a rare family of viruses transmitted by direct contact with bodily fluids, often blood. By contrast, influenza spreads through droplets sneezed or coughed into the air, which makes it easier to catch.
Viruses. They're everywhere. They come in different sizes and shapes, yet all are very small. How small? Well, if a person was the size of a flu virus, they and almost half of the world's human population could fit on top of a pencil eraser. Yep, that's pretty small. Even when we get a good look at viruses, they are tricky to peg. They mutate and evolve at different speeds. Viruses have to replicate quickly and spread to as many host cells as possible before your immune system stops them. And spreading between hosts is pretty easy. It happens a lot of ways. The most common, good old-fashioned sternutation, or sneezing. Like it or not, many of us ingest and inhale millions of viruses every day. Usually we're fine, but sometimes we get sick. Take, for example, influenza. The flu virus, covered in little spikes, travels towards a host cell. These spikes attach to the receptors on the cell's surface. Once latched on, the virus is granted entry through the cell's membrane. The virus wastes no time releasing its genetic material into the cell. This hijacks the cell's reproductive system, forcing it to make millions of virus copies that leave the cell and spread to other parts of the host. To take command of a cell, the virus needs to be strong, but not so strong as to damage the cell's ability to function. It's a delicate dance for the constantly mutating virus. There's always a chance that a random mutation may help it survive.
In this video, we're going to look at what viruses are. Viruses are a type of microorganism. They are too small to be seen by the naked eye, much smaller than bacteria, and about 100 times smaller than human cells. They come in many different shapes and are present wherever there are cells to infect. In fact, viruses are the most common biological unit on Earth, outnumbering all other types combined. Viruses can infect humans, all animals, plants, and even bacteria. Viruses are very simple. They are made up of a protein coat surrounding a strand of genetic material. The genetic material can either be DNA or RNA. Sometimes a membrane called an envelope surrounds a virus particle. This envelope isn't made by the virus, but is actually stolen from the membrane of the host cell. This is a great strategy by the virus. It makes it harder for the host cell to identify the virus as foreign. As we just saw, viruses aren't made up of cells. In fact, they aren't really living. They are halfway between a living organism and a chemical. Because they aren't living, we say there are different types of virus rather than saying different species of virus. Some common types of viruses are influenza and HIV or AIDS. So if viruses aren't living, how do they cause illness? Viruses are parasites. They can only reproduce in other living cells. They enter a host cell and hijack the host's genetic machinery. They make copies of their own viral genetic material instead and produce lots more virus particles. After lots of virus particles have been made, the host cell dies and the viral particles are released to infect more cells. The released viral particles can also spread to other people. There are actually two different ways in which virus attacks the host cell, which we'll look at in more detail in this video. Viruses cause many human diseases, including colds, influenza, rabies, yellow fever, HIV or AIDS, pneumonia, bird flu, Zika, Ebola, and the cancer-causing HPV. They are just a few examples. Fortunately, the human immune system is very good at dealing with viral invaders. Sometimes our immune system will recognize the virus as an intruder and will destroy the virus before it gains entry into a cell. Even after infection begins, our immune system destroys the virus and the person recovers. Sometimes the immune system cannot destroy the virus fast enough, and the virus can cause permanent damage or death. In 1918, the Spanish flu is thought to have caused up to 50 million deaths worldwide. Scientists have developed vaccinations against lots of viruses, which have even led to the eradication of some viruses like smallpox, as human hosts become immune. However, some viruses like HIV have proved impossible to develop any kind of vaccine for. Did you know that antibiotics do not work for viruses? They are only for bacterial infections. If you have a cold or flu, you shouldn't be taking antibiotics. They won't make any difference. There are some antiviral drugs that have been developed, such as the one that dramatically prolongs the life of people affected by HIV. So there we have viruses. They're incredibly simple organisms, but are extremely effective at causing infection.